Well, hello there, boys and girls. Welcome to, well, actually a Good Friday here in Partzilla studio. How's everybody doing today? Man, I'm so out of shape. I basically had to trot to get in here. I don't run anymore. If I do, my knees would explode. But at any rate, man, I'm in crappy shape. So give me a second while I catch my breath. Well, as I said, how is everybody doing this Good Friday? We are going to start off doing what we normally do. Any reminders, and then I'll hit a couple of questions that I missed last week or couldn't get to or didn't know the answer to, and I had to do some research. Not that I've had time to do any research this week, but we'll start off with the reminders. We are holding a new giveaway every week of Monster Energy AMA Supercross Series. This week, we're giving away a pair of Risk Racing Holeshot practice starting gate. A pair? No, that would just be one. Hank, you need a proofread, man. At any rate, I've looked at this piece, and it is a solidly built piece of equipment. And if you're into motocross and you're serious about getting off the line, you may want to enter to win this. And we're going to be running that contest until midnight tonight. So go to partzilla.com/LP/PRMX to winner. And as I've said many times before, there is no charge to do so. So go right ahead. After that, we are going to be giving away a pair of Alpinestars Sequence Pro shorts. Well, that will be one pair. We're just messing up all kind of numbering schemes this afternoon. All right, so let's swing around to any questions that I missed last week. Tim Denton had sent in a question. Wonder if you can answer a question for me, possibly. I have a 2005 CRF 230. It has a slight rattle in the top end as I rev it. I can make the noise come and go. Any idea what this is? Valves. I would say that you're probably heading in the right direction, but valves usually have a more of a ticking sound. A rattle, I'd be more inclined to think that maybe your timing chain is starting to go bad, and or the tensioner maybe is not keeping it a full tension on it, pushed into that guide. I believe it's on the backside, if I remember correctly, on that particular engine. But hey, let's start off simple. Pull off the valve covers and just take a look. Bring around a top dead center. Bring out your specs, set of feeler gauges, and see where they are. After that, dive a little bit deeper. But start off with the simplest thing first. Check your valve lash, then take a look at the chain itself. If it's wiggling around, it's probably a good indicator that it and the tensioner need to be replaced. Corey Hecker, I just replaced the clutch basket in my 2400EX. And if I pull the clutch and put it in first, it just takes off like the clutch isn't disengaging. Could it be because the last fiber plate isn't offset? No, the offset on the clutch plate, that last one, is not absolutely necessary. That's to reduce the amount of chatter that may be present inside the clutch pack itself. More than likely, it's been a little while, but when you engage that outer cover, I believe the clutch pivot where the cable attaches to it, you have to have it in a certain position when it engages when you're putting it on the side of the engine. Pretty sure I'm right about that. Hold on a second. Let me take a look at our 400EX. I've got sitting over here. Back just a second. Yep. That arm does indeed go through that clutch cover, if you will. Hold on. Excuse the noise. So if that arm doesn't engage in the proper area to actually, it pulls out on the pin that goes in the center of the clutch, it's not ever going to be able to disengage it. It just doesn't have the distance to pull if you don't engage it on the correct tooth. So go back and look at that again and see if that indeed is your cause. It happens to the best of us. I think one of the R6 probably is the hardest one to do, and it's taken me like 4 or 5 times to finally hit that right tooth, because if it's just one off, it ain't gonna work right. Plus, I just remember this: there is a button that you actually have to hook on that. Let's call it a pull that disengages the clutch. If it doesn't reach around and grab that, it doesn't have anything to pull against. So I'll bet you that's where you're running into a problem. All right, let's see if anybody is stacking up some questions on me. Oh, good grief, yeah. I came out of the gate swinging today. So let me switch gears. Oh no, Nick K. Hey John, I just blew up my 400EX. Nick, what happened, man? Let us know. I don't want to make you wait forever, but we will be building up another 400EX top to bottom. We might even start on it maybe in 2 weeks. I don't know, Tracy. You up for another engine build? Or are you still recovering from the CRF 450R? Jose. It's in Spanish, and my Spanish is horrible. I'm sorry, my Spanish teacher, Senora Struer. I did not pay attention so many years ago enough to answer this man's question. But I bet you Hank can run it through the translator. and if I can't get to it this week, we can swing around and do it next week. Oh boy, Nick K. Chunks of metal came out of the crankcase. Yeah, it definitely let go. Anything leading up to that, or had you modified it a lot? I mean, what let go? I hate hearing that for you, though. Tony, Polaris 570 SP Touring. Hello, Mr. Talley. I ordered an EPI utility clutch for my 570 Sportsman. I have 27-inch Mud Light 2s on it. Should I be concerned about the rear axles breaking? As long as you haven't lifted it yet and you're just spinning a little bit, taller tires, if you want to call it that, I think you ought to be okay. Where the stock CV joints get into trouble is when if they're usually running at this angle, and then all of a sudden they're having to run at this angle, that pivot right there, especially up on or inside at the differential, that's usually too much for it to deal with. It's probably going to snap it. But if you're just going with a little bit bigger tires, and I don't know the Mud Light pattern off the top of my head, and they aren't overly aggressive, you should be okay. But hey, run them till they break, and if they do, you may want to look at the Gorilla axles as an upgrade over the OEM. Jose, he came back. I think I can make this out. He says, "Thank you for the questions and the videos." Once again, my Spanish is horrible, and I so need to send Miss Struer a letter apologizing. Jeff, while riding all stock 08 C90, okay, I heard a whistling sound coming from the fake gas tank area. Pitch of sound changed as I twisted the throttle on off. What could it be? That indeed is an odd one. Well, there must be some type of I don't want to say vent, but maybe a vacuum tube, or not a vacuum tube, but a vent tube that's maybe partially stopped up. Maybe that's what you're hearing, and it's changing with the RPMs. That's odd. Hank, make a note of that one. Let me look at the intake on an 08 Suzuki C90. Maybe I can come up with a better answer next week. Joe McQueen, hello, sir. Can you recommend a set of tires for a 07 CBR 600R that performs well in the rain? Off the top of my head, I'm not going to be able to hit it. But my favorite manufacturer of tire is going to be Michelin. If you'll, or Continental, either one of those. If you go to their all-season tires, I think they can find something that would do well in the rain. It's just going to be for track use, in the rain. This is going to be your wet set for the rain. You may want to go with a really soft, high-performance compound with a rain groove cut in it. If not, just go for a higher wear all season. Panagiotis, hi there. Hi, John. Good Friday. And a good Friday to you, Panagiotis. Indian men in Europe. Pagio MP3 tilt locking problem, how to solve. Is that a scooter of some type? Give me a little bit more information and maybe I can run it down. All right, Joe said, can you share any tips for assembling the fairings on the previously mentioned bike? On the 600, it's just a matter of keeping up with what bolts go where when you're pulling them off, because it's not nearly as complicated as the like a gold wing, but I think there's still like 2 or 3 different length and diameter bolts that hold all the fairings on the 600RR. If you're confused as to which one goes where, go to our website, go to the exploded parts diagrams, and it's going to call out each bolt. And I believe in the description, it'll actually give you the diameter and the length of the bolt itself. And that makes it a lot easier to go back together. Yeah, Hank just chimed in that the Pagio Geo is a 3-wheeled scooter. Well, that's going to be a little out of my wheelhouse, guys. I can take a look at it later and see if I can come up with whatever a tilt issue would be on it. Panay, I'm not going to go for that last name. Love the channel. Well, I'm glad you like it. Thanks for joining us today. Strictly, Joe came back, strictly street use rain tires. Yeah, just go with an all season, then you're going to be a little bit restricted because just about everybody, they just want flat out performance on the tires. But I'm sure that a company like either Continental and or Michelin, they're going to have ones that have been cut for the rain. Ashanth is asking me, hi there, 2006 R6, okay, bike goes to 10C and then the fan comes on, only one fan comes on. Is that normal unless both needs to come on at the same time? You know what? I don't know off the top of my head. I thought that the R6, it just had one circuit for the fan, so it should be both of them. I would really need to look at a wiring diagram to know for sure. So we'll make a note of that, and I'll start off, or I'll add that to my unanswered questions for next week. But my initial, I don't want to call it a guess, but I guess I am kind of guessing, is that they should come on at the same time. I don't think they're sequential. JSim, love the Partzilla website. What a plus. Well, thank you. We do try hard to make it easier to use. Indian men in Europe, how to contact you, what's app number and social media, how to send photos about my thing. Okay, you can send in the chat, get in touch with one of our writers, a lot more than just a writer, Hank, and on the messenger side, on our Facebook site, and they can get the question over to me, or the whatever information you're sending, they can forward it to me. JSim, okay, I've got wired cooling fans, so it be okay. Honda Foreman, you're losing me here a little bit. I got wired my cooling fan. Hey, buddy, can I call you back in a little bit? We're doing the Friday Live at 3 thing. All right, later. My son. Some calls you answer no matter what. That will be one of them. The other one's my girlfriend. All right, back to business. All right, Asanth came back. I have no idea if it works that way because at the moment only one fan comes on. And JSim says, hot wired my fan, that is. Oh, you're saying that it's just running all the time? So you're having some cooling issues, you're running it all the time? Shouldn't have to do that, but okay. Jixer Squid, thank you for facilitating this question. What's your opinion on balancing beads on tires instead of getting a wheel balanced traditionally? All right. For a bike like the Gixxer, I mean, if you're really going to be running it at high speeds, only on a track, of course, then I would recommend, actually getting them balanced at a local shop. But that being said, that little dot that they put on the tire, if you line that up with your valve stem, that's kind of their balance point. But that balances the tire to the best of their knowledge, but your rim may not be perfectly balanced as well. But if you're running really high speed, where you need to have all the wobbles, out of it, and it's worth doing. For just regular daily street use, I don't think it's really worth it. But that's just my opinion. Penny is asking me, Yamaha YFZ450R seized motor? Well, you tell me. Give me a little bit more information. What happened? Oh, Jay Simney says, no, it's on a switch. Yeah, I've seen people do that, but the trick is, what if you forget to flip that switch if you're riding along? I know a lot of people in the mud world, especially on the side-by-side, still have a switch to where they can disable the fan, believe it or not, because when you go in deep water, if the fan comes on, it breaks the blades and or burns up the motor. But if you're out on the trail and you come to a stop and you're just sitting there idling and you forget to switch it back on, well, you can imagine what happens. So not a big fan of a switch unless you're really paying attention. But if you are, more power to you. And it's just one more thing to keep up with. And to really know what's going on, you need to have a pretty accurate temp gauge on it. Lightning Motorsports. Hey, John, hope you had a nice week. Yeah, I did. A little frustrating, but it was good overall. Had someone bring me an 02 Grizzly 660 that isn't running. Local dealership replaced the Woodruff key sheared a year ago and didn't replace the cam chain. Let me guess. Maybe has a timing issue, been a couple of valves. Yeah, quick compression test will probably tell you what's going on there. Oh, and you kept going. Carb compression and spark, not timed. All check good. Okay. I'm thinking a stretched cam chain, bad tension, or another sheared Woodruff key. Any thoughts on experience with this issue on a Grizzly 660? If they replaced it with the right key, it shouldn't have happened. Well, it shouldn't have happened to begin with in the first place. I'm a little concerned that there may be a little bit too much play either on the end of the crankshaft or on the flywheel itself that's allowing it to have a little wiggle room to snap it. So you may want to just pull that off first, take a peek inside, and make sure that it hasn't been wallowed out on either of those two surfaces. Because if it is, well, it's just gonna keep breaking them. Second thing, when you put the other one, if it is okay, make very sure that you torque it completely. I wonder if they didn't have that outer bolt torqued to spec, and they just put it on with an impact. That's why torque wrenches are important, I pulled the cylinder head cover off and it is out of timing. You just answered your question. Yeah, they probably didn't replace the chain. I thought that was an interference engine, so I'm surprised that she's got good compression and didn't bend any of the valves. They may have just slipped a tooth or two, but enough to where it's not firing where it's supposed to. That puts it at least 20 degrees off. Jay Sim said, when my leg gets hot, I turn it on. You've got if it works for you, go with it. Sorry, John, what is the axle name you recommended? Gorilla Axles is the one that I've used with success in the past when we've really gotten carried away on machines with either power or suspension modifications and the geometry changing, whatnot. The Gorilla Axles, they seem to hold up a lot better than the OEM stuff. Pedro, hey John, I've got a TRX 400EX 2007. It's starting to smoke. I'm original owner and it has never been rebuilt. I've taken care I've taken well care since I bought. What should I just do, a rebuild it or an aftermarket? Well, that's really up to you. You know, I'm a big OEM fan, but I really like using the Wiseco forged pistons, especially in the 400EX. That's what I'm going to do with this one. And we're actually going to bump the compression ratio by, I think, just a point. And then we're also going to go a little bit bigger on the displacement because I'm going to bore out the cylinder a pretty good bit. We're not going to go to a 440 or anything like that. I think we're just going to do it's either a 416 or a 426. So just adding a little bit more zip, and that way I know it's going to be a little bit more fun to ride. And I think we can get it rejetted appropriately with the existing carburetor without having to go with a different carb setup completely, you know, like Electron or something like that. But just building it pretty much in the middle of the road. But hey, there's nothing wrong with going back stock. If you just if you're having fun with it as it is, then keep it that way. If you want a little bit more zip, then step it up a notch too. Would I get super carried away? No, not unless you're going to race it. But if you're going to race one, now this probably going to be, it would probably be a 450R then, wouldn't it? All right, parts. Okay, Tony already got the right axles. Very good. Lightning Motorsports. Thanks, John. I appreciate the feedback. I'm starting to start digging into it. I was asked to clean the carbon. Now it's becoming a project. Isn't that always the case? And you have a nice weekend as well. Pedro said, what should I use to rebuild, an OEM or an aftermarket top-end rebuild kit? Once again, it's up to you. When you're saying just a top end, I know that, well, actually, that they make two kits. Wiseco makes what they call a garage buddy, which goes all the way down on the crankshaft and all the way back to the top end. But they also make top end kits where they've got all the necessary gaskets and O-rings and rings and wrist pins, everything that you're going to need to do, you know, just piston and rings, although it does not address the valves. Now, if once you get in there and the valves look suspect, then you'll need to order a few more parts. That's what happened to me over on that one YXZ 1000R. Tracy and I pulled it apart. I had all the parts here just to drop the compression with the Wiseco pistons for the turbo kit. And we started looking at the head and went, no, I can't do this. So out all the valves came and off to the machine shop it went, and the orders continued at Partzilla.com. Hey, it's what happens. Sometimes the best laid plans go. But hey, honestly, I didn't want to really put that old nasty head back on there. I mean, that's just not my style. I want it to be perfect when we go, or as good as I can get it when we go back together. Showcaser 48, what size tank would you make it through the woods race for a YZ250? Are you talking about doing a hair scramble? And is that the YZ250, an older one? I know that, was it Gates? Or was it Malcolm Smith that used to make oversized plastic tanks for the YZ250? But if you're just doing a Hare and the Hound or a not timed event, I can't remember what they're called. I didn't have any problem on my CR 250 making it, because you could put your gas stop wherever you wanted to, you know, out in the woods. But yeah, look at one of those Malcolm Smith tanks if you're looking to expand your distance on a YZ250. Michael Taylor, hey John, just wanted to say appreciate what you do and have a great weekend. Well, Michael, thank you. We appreciate that, and I will try to. And it looks like I've caught up with y'all again. So let's swing back around to see any other questions that I missed last week. All right, I already responded to Corey. I'm not going to say that name. Dan had asked, I have an 09 Sportsman 850 XP EPS. When it gets below freezing, my steering locks up. Does EPS have a fluid that needs to be changed? No, because the EPS on that is actually an electronic power system. So there's no fluid to really change. If it's getting so cold to where it's actually keeping it from operating. I'd be curious about the voltage and make sure your battery's in good shape, because I know it puts a pretty strong draw, and that gets even worse when it gets cold, and your battery has a harder time delivering the amperage when the battery's cold as well. So take a look at that first. Make sure you've got a really healthy battery before you go replacing your EPS unit, because I know they're not cheap. Killer 104 had said, I recently bought a ZX 600P, which sat for 2 years. Oh boy. When I put the tank upside down on the table to remove the pump, I noticed the fuel is leaking from the top, from the gas cap. To say, do I need a new gas cap? Probably not. If you're telling me you took the tank and you turned it upside down and it started to leak, well, it's going to have a vent up there. And if your motorcycle is usually sitting straight up, it's not an issue. You turn it upside down for a long period of time, yeah, it's gonna pee on your table. But more than likely, it's just the vent, and it has nothing to do with that seal leaking up top. Because without that vent, you're going to build up a vacuum, and then she won't run. Is what I've seen that happen on way too many machines. The vent gets stopped up and runs for about 10 minutes or less. All right, we're getting close to 0 hour, so to speak. See if there's any other questions. Oh, just one more from Panagiotis. What are your plans for this weekend? I hope it's something interesting. Just going to be around the house with my girlfriend, more than likely, and of course be heading to Easter Sunday church, and then spending it with family afterwards. Her family first, and then mine in the evening. So by the end of the day, Sunday, I would imagine we're both going to be ready to run away from our respective families. Oh, there's still a couple more. Well, we won't stop yet then. The Schnizzy. Hey, John, when rebuilding top ends, do you have to send it to the machine shop, or can you good old elbow grease to get the job done? Well, we were just discussing that this past week. I mean, can you do a top end if you're just going to do pistons and rings and nothing else? Well, sure, you can throw them in there. And, if it's the same OEM size, but things are going to wear. And you can't just look at a piston or a cylinder and know, all right, well, that's worn too much. You have to measure it accordingly. And if you're going through the trouble of actually taking one apart, you need to take it to a machine shop where they can look at it, make sure that it's within spec, and then, well, decide if you have to adjust or not. Particularly with a multi-cylinder head, when you pull it apart, you're taking a really big chance of that surface not being completely flat. I resurface the heads on every machine that I build, just because I don't want to take that chance. I mean, all those cycles, heat cycles, and then when you pull it apart, the chances of it warping just a little bit, they're actually pretty high. And especially on a higher compression engine, and they're not going to last long. So if you've got a machine shop that you really believe in, then I think it's worth the time and the money to invest to let them check it out and make sure that you're not wasting your time and money by throwing parts in it when they're going to fail way too soon. All right, guys, it looks like there's one more. Okay, well, we'll actually try to finish out everybody. We'll go a little bit over. Kim Little, John, your video troubleshooting the starting circuit on the Grizzly 700 is invaluable. You're very welcome. The understanding of the open condition at the reverse switch is helpful. That gets a lot of people, folks. Well, all right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for me this week. Everybody have a good Friday, a great weekend, a great week, and God willing, we will see you again here at 3 o'clock. Y'all take care.